Teruvan Saranai. We welcome all of you for another program of Aloka Dhamma discussion. Today we are closing an end of year 2023. As always, we have invited today to the studio with greatest respect Venerable Sandalanka Kalyana Dasana Thero and Venerable Gampa Sumanawansa Thero for our discussion. As we are closing the year, I thought we would discuss today about something which will be useful for us to start next year, which is about learning. First step of learning is the willingness to learn. Without willingness to learn, we will not listen to the advices of wise and adults. We may lack the willingness to learn due to multiple reasons such as ego, lack of time, and many other reasons. Venerable Gampa Sumanawansa Thero, sir, according to Buddhism, how can we make sure that we create and live in an environment which induces us for learning?
With respect to Venerable Sandalanka Kalyana Dasana Thero, Mr. Karagala and dear devotees, before we talk about willingness to learn, we need to know how Buddhist philosophy defines or identifies learning. In the doctrine where this is explained, we can find two terms as Asutawa Putujjano and Sutavachako Arya Savako. We can identify 6 qualities of Asutawa Putujjano. The first one is Aryanang Adassavi, a person who doesn't like to meet or see Arya Shravaka, wise people. The second one is Arya Dhammassa Akovidu. He is untalented or unskilled in learning the teachings of the wise. The third one is Arya Dhamme Avinito. He doesn't want to practice things he learned from the wise people. The next one is Sappurisanang Adassavi. He doesn't like to meet noble people. Sappurisa Dhammassa Akovidu. He is untalented or unskilled in learning the teachings of the noble people. And lastly, Sappurisa Dhamme Avinito. He doesn't want to practice himself in the things he learned from the noble people. Dear devotees, we can also find 6 qualities of Sutavachako Arya Savako. The first one is Aryanam Dassavi. He desires to meet or see Arya Shravaka, wise people. The second one is Arya Dhammassa Kovidu. He is talented or skilled in learning the teachings of the wise. The next one is Arya Dhamme Suvinito. He wants to practice the things he learned from the wise people. Next, Sappurisanandassavi. He desires to meet noble people. The fifth one is Sappurisa Dhammassa Kovidu. He is talented or skilled in learning the teachings of the noble people. And lastly, Sappurisa Dhamme Suvinito. He wants to practice the things he learned from noble people. Dear devotees, from this we should understand that what the Lord Buddha has emphasized about learning. If we are to learn something, we should learn the knowledge of the wise or noble people. And if we are to be skillful in something, that has to be the things which are desired by the wise or noble people. Dear devotees, in Buddhism, we can find many incidents where people became successful by maintaining or following the above 6 good qualities.
Well, Venerable Sumanawansa Thero explained about how to learn and what to learn. Venerable Sandalanka Kalyana Dasana Thero, sir, the most important thing is with that kind of environment, building a quality of a good learner. According to Buddhism, what are the qualities as an individual we should have if we are to become a good learner?
With respect to our Venerable Gampa Sumanawansa Thero, Mr. Karagala, and dear devotees, another reason as to why people become successful is because they do not have an ego. not overconfident about themselves when they learn, and they never prioritize other things over and above their goal. An example of someone who achieved success by not having an ego is the story of King Kappina. One day, King Kappina was outside his palace and he heard about the Lord Buddha. Usually, when a king is going to meet the Lord Buddha, they would go back to their palace and prepare a parade to accompany them for their journey because of their ego or pride. But King Kappina abandoned all his belongings, including his kingdom, picked up an alms bowl, and went to the Lord Buddha with a great desire to learn his teachings. Because King Kappina didn't dwell on his pride, he was able to join the ranks of the Arahants. So, dear devotees, an excellent example for prioritizing one's goal is the story of Bahiya Daruchiriya Thero. At the latter period of Kashyapa Buddha's era, 7 monks, including Bahiya Daruchiriya Thero, knowing the fact that the Buddha's teachings are about to disappear, they climbed onto a tall rock and pushed the ladder away they used to climb it. They dedicated their lives to prioritize achieving enlightenment. Although Bahiya Daruchiriya Thero wasn't able to achieve Nibbana in that life, his effort was not wasted. He held the title of fastest learner of the Dhamma in Gautama Buddha's dispensation. Mr. Karagala, there is no age limit to the willingness to learn. At the time of the Lord Buddha, there were monks who were even 80 years old and had a great willingness to learn. And they were successful as well. One such monk was Malunke Putta Thero. In his 80s, he went to the Lord Buddha and asked for kamatahan, so-called meditation practice. Not in a descriptive way, but in a brief way. Then the Lord Buddha said, in the past, only young monks asked for kamatahan in brief. But you, even at the age of 80, is asking for the kamatahan in brief. Saying this, Lord Buddha praised his willingness to learn. So, dear devotees, although I only mention 3 stories, there are many such stories mentioned in the doctrine which highlights or emphasizes the importance of willingness to learn. So, Mr. Karagala, irrespective of your age and profession and social status and all other things, you should always have a willingness to learn unconditionally.
Well, we spoke about willingness to learn and the qualities as individual we should have if we are to be a good learner. Venerable Gampa Sumanansa Thero, can you give us some examples about this quality from Buddhism?
Mr. Karagala, in the Gautama Buddha's dispensation, the foremost bhikkhu who desires training is Rahula Thero. The Lord Buddha has preached this in the Anguttara Nikaya Ekaka Nipata as Etadaggam bhikkhave mama savakanam bhikkhunam sikkhakammanam yadidam Rahulo. Not only the quality of incomparable willingness to learn, Rahula Thero had other qualities which are highlighted as Rahulo pipatoba uttaya hattena valukam ukkipitva dasabalassa cheva Achari upajjayanancha santika ajja ettakam ovadam labeyanti vadati. Dear devotees, in the Ekaka Nipata commentaries, It is stated that the Rahula Thero, Arhant Rahula Thero, would wake up every day in the morning, pick up a handful of sand, and while throwing it in the air, he says, "May I receive advices equal to the amount of sand grains from both the Lord Buddha and my teachers." Not only was he willing to receive advices from others, but he had a mentality to obey those advices without any complaints. Sometimes the fellow monks, to test his obedience, would leave brooms or tools in different unnecessary places and ask, "Who put these things here?" And another monk would reply, "I'm not sure, but I saw Rahula Thero going past here." And when they summoned Rahula Thero and asked him of this, without any complaints and without saying that he didn't do it, he would apologize and do the necessary chore. He would never argue with his elder monks. Dear devotees, therefore all the Sangha praised Rahula Thero, saying that he is the most obedient monk in the order of Bhikkhu. Rahula Thero was able to attain enlightenment in a short time because of his willingness to learn and listen to his elders. Mr. Karagala, even though he was the son of Prince Siddhartha, he had absolutely no pride or ego. A good example is that once at Jetwanarama, Rahula Thero gave all his rooms to his elders and had no place to sleep. After not finding a place to sleep, even after looking everywhere, he decided to sleep in the lavatory or toilet. Once the Lord Buddha praised Rahula Thero for his qualities, saying not only in the present but also in his previous lives, he had shown the qualities of willingness to learn and listen to others. Dear devotees, the Tipallattamiga Jataka in the Kuddaka Nikaya is a very good example for this. Once Rahula Thero was born as a deer, and the Lord Buddha was his uncle. The young deer was keen to learn from his uncle about the techniques on how to avoid and escape from hunters. Because he was willing to learn, he learned those techniques well. One day he was captured by hunters, and he acted as if he was dead. The hunters thought that the deer had died and removed the trap. Just as they removed the trap, the young deer immediately escaped. Because he was willing to learn, he was able to protect his life. Mr. Karagala, from this we need to understand that nothing we learn will go to waste. So having the willingness to learn would even save your life in an unexpected situation.
So it's very clear that it's having an association with the wise is one of the most important thing for us as an individual need to have. But the problem we have is most of us only talk and don't listen. There's no point of talking if we don't listen to the wise, even if we are with wise. So mastering the skill of listening is one of the most important but a difficult skill to develop. Venerable Kalandasana Thero, sir, is Buddhism highlighting the importance of listening and not ignoring the advice of wise?
Mr. Karagala, a good quality that one should inculcate is so-called in Pali Sova Chassata, which means being obedient or following the advices of wise elders. It is also given in the Karaniyametta Sutta that this quality not only helps for our mundane life but also helps us in our journey to attain Nirvana. Lord Buddha is the only person who knew everything. So if you do not master this quality of Sova Chassata, you will be in danger. In the Sangyukta Nikaya Sagata Vagga, there's a story given about the suffering you will have to face if you do not listen to the advice of your elders. Dear devotees, during one rains retreat, the great disciples of Lord Buddha Sariputta and Moggallana Theros were residing in Kokalika Theros temple, another monk. At the end of the retreat, Sariputta and Moggallana Theros distributed all the offerings they received among the bhikkhus except Kokalika Thero. Why Kokalika Thero didn't receive any of requisites or offering? According to the Vinaya, so-called the code of discipline, he was not eligible to receive any of them. However, because of this, he got upset and developed a grudge on Mahatheros. So he approached the Blessed One and complained, "My Lord, your followers Sariputta and Moggallana have evil thoughts, and they have come under the control of evil thoughts." When this was said, the Lord Buddha replied, "Kokalika, do not speak like that. Be confident in Sariputta and Moggallana. My followers Sariputta and Moggallana are well behaved." The bhikkhu Kokalika said the same thing again and again. He complained again and again to the Lord Buddha, but the Blessed One gave the same answer, saying, "Do not speak about Sariputta and Moggallana in that way. They are well behaved." But Kokalika Thero was not the one who could get rid from these evil thoughts even after receiving Lord Buddha's advice. Not long after leaving Lord Buddha, Kokalika Thero's entire body became covered with blisters of the size of mustard seeds. So this is given in Tripitaka in commentaries. They say the mustard seed-like blisters gradually grew to the size of stone apples. After a while, they burst and Kokalika Thero died and was reborn in the Paduma hell. After Kokalika had passed away, the Lord Buddha addressed the bhikkhus and said, "Bhikkhu Kokalika has been reborn in the Paduma hell because he harbored hostility towards Sariputta and Moggallana. He didn't stop even after I advised him not to do that." So, dear devotees, Lord Buddha is the supreme teacher who had the greatest compassion for others. So here Kokalika Thero could have respected and listened to the Buddha's advice. Because Kokalika's mind was clouded by greed and hate, he didn't see Sariputta and Moggallana Thero's good qualities and had to suffer both in his present life and his afterlife. Mr. Karagala, in order to become successful, whatever the profession you are in, you always have to listen to the advice of others, especially wise elders and seniors. So for this, as you said, you need to be a good listener and listen closely and carefully to the advice of wise people. Otherwise, just like Kokalika Thero, both your day-to-day life and your path to attain nirvana will be blocked, leaving you with only suffering for a very long time.
So, the Venerable Sandalanka Kalandasana Thero explained the importance of listening to the advices of the wise and gave an example about the negative impacts of not doing so. Buddhism has a lot more examples highlighting the importance of learning and listening to the wise and learning through the wise. So, Venerable Gampa Sumanasa Thero, can you give us some more examples about this from Buddhism?
Mr. Karagala, another story to highlight the negative impact of not listening to the advice of the wise is the story of quarrelsome bhikkhus of Kosambi. Dear devotees, a tribal incident led to an unfortunate dispute among the bhikkhus of Kosambi. One group followed the teachings of the Vinaya and the others followed the teachings of the Dhamma. And they were often quarreling among themselves. Because of their arguments, the monastery was filled with loud noises. The Lord Buddha advised them to stop the arguments, but the monks did not listen to the advice of the Buddha. Although they didn't listen, the Lord Buddha knew that eventually they would realize their mistakes. So he left them and went to a place near the forest Parilayaka by himself. The lay devotees of Kosambi, after realizing the reason for the absence of the Lord Buddha, refused to give offerings to the bhikkhus. This made the disciples of both masters realize their mistakes and came to a reconciliation. But still, the devotees would not treat the monks respectfully as they had done before, until they admitted that it was their fault that the Lord Buddha had left the vicinity. And the devotees wanted the monks to plead the pardon of the Buddha. But the Buddha was away and it was in the middle of the rainy season. So the disciples spent 3 months in misery and hardship. Dear devotees, after the end of the monsoon season or the rainy season, because of the appeal of many monks, the Lord Buddha returned and preached this verse. Parechana vijananti mayametta yamamase yecha tatta vijananti tato sammanti medaga. The meaning of this advice is, dear devotees, most of us are not willing to face the reality of impermanence and death. It is because we forget the fact that our lives are transitory. So we quarrel with each other, as if we are going to live forever. But if we face the fact of death, our quarrels will come to an end. We will then realize the folly of fighting when we ourselves are doomed to die. Emotions cloud our thoughts. Because of that, we cannot see the truth of the life. When we see and understand this truth, our thoughts will become free of emotions. Mr. Caragala, you see, now we should understand that there are people who are wiser than us. So without whatever position you are in, you should always be humble enough to listen to the advice of the wise. In the story which I previously mentioned, because of their arrogance, disciples in Kosambi were not ready to listen to even the wisest of all, the Lord Buddha's advice. Because of that, they had to suffer painfully for 3 months. Listening cost us nothing. Nowadays, most people listen with the intention of giving a response. But devotees, we don't always need to give a response to everything we hear. After determining whether it is good or bad, if it is good, then you can integrate it into our lives. If it is something that would do us harm, we can ignore it. So dear devotees, it is better to be a listener. Even though that may be difficult, it is a necessary skill that you need to develop in order to achieve your goals.
Well, there's no point of associating wise if you do not hear them out or observe them. As we spoke, listening to the advices of the wise is one of the most important things you need to develop, because it will move you out from your trouble and allow you to correct your mistakes and make sure that you will achieve what you want to achieve in your life. I'll turn into a practical issue we have in the society, which is not letting us to do what we just spoke about. The current education system in the country is not encouraging our kids to have a constructive criticism or ask rational questions. But the most important factor of a progressive society, which is with a new and innovative thinking, is constructive criticism and rational thinking. Does Buddhism teach us and lead us to have blind and irrational faith without asking any questions. I would like to ask this question from Sir, you Sandalanka Kaladasa Tero.
Mr. Karagala and dear devotees, in Anguttara Nikaya, Tika Nipata, it is given in Kesamuttiya Sutta, and Lord Buddha has taught us not to follow blind and irrational faith without asking any questions. One day, the Lord Buddha visited the village of Kesaputta, where the tribe of Kalama resided. Due to that very reason, this sutta is famous as Kalama Sutta. So, dear devotees, after hearing the arrival of the Blessed One, the residents of Kalama asked the Lord Buddha thus, Lord Buddha, sometimes ascetics and Brahmins come to our village and teach us their doctrine and denounce and criticize the doctrine of others. But after they leave, again some other ascetics and Brahmins come to our village and teach us their doctrine, and they too denounce and criticize the doctrine of others. So, Lord Buddha, we are in doubt in understanding who is telling us the truth and who is telling us lies. Then the Buddha replied, it is right for you to be in such a doubt as to what is the truth and what is false. After saying this, the Lord Buddha preached, Eta tumme kalama ma anussavena ma paramparaya ma itikiraya ma pitaka sampadanena ma takka hetu ma naya hetu ma akara parivitakkena ma ditti nijjana kantiya ma babba rupataya ma samanono garyuti. The meaning of this is, do not accept something just because it comes through oral tradition. In Pali, it is termed as ma anussavena. By lineage of teaching, ma paramparaya. By hearsay, ma itikiraya. By a collection of scriptures, ma pitaka sampadanena. By logical reasoning, ma takka hetu. By inferential reasoning, ma naya hetu. By reasons cogitation, ma akara parivitakkena. By the acceptance of a view after pondering it, ma ditti nijjana kantiya. By the seeming competence of the speaker, ma babba rupataya. Or lastly, because you think the ascetic is a guru, ma samanono garuti. Dear devotees, according to Buddhism, there are the facts we have to consider to avoid blind and irrational faith. Let's discuss about the way of accepting things rationally. Lord Buddha preached in the same sutta, Attanava janeyata. It is about finding out for yourself which things are wholesome and which things are unwholesome, which things are abandoned by the wise, and lastly, which things, if accepted and undertaken, will lead to harm and suffering. And with that, understanding, abandoning those things. Mr. Karagala, to give an example for this, I would like to ask you a question. When greed arises in a person's mind, will it have a positive impact or a negative impact?
Venerable said, will definitely have a negative impact.
Yes. When someone's mind is clouded by greed, they take the life of other living beings. They take what is not given, indulges in sexual misconduct, speaks lies. Not only that, but they encourage others to do these unwholesome deeds as well. Dear devotees, this will definitely lead to harm an individual and make him suffer for a very long time. In the same manner, Lord Buddha asked from the Kalamas about greed, hatred, and ignorance, lobha, desha, moha, and whether they bring them happiness or harm, whether they are wholesome or unwholesome. Then the Lord Buddha got the answer from themselves, saying, it will bring us harm and it is unwholesome. So finally, I would say, Lord Buddha has always said to find out for yourself what is right and what is wrong, so you can develop a rational and unblinded faith.
Well, we are coming to an end of another program and another year. Through Aloka program, we are trying to provide all of you with basic knowledge and attitude necessary to create well-being in our life through various teachings and techniques of Buddhism. Hope our effort have helped all of you to become a better human beings and better individual. On behalf of JAYA Media Network, with great respect, I thank both Venerable Sandalanka Kallandasana Thero and Venerable Gampa Sumanansa Thero for being with us throughout this couple of months in this program and sharing their noble knowledge across the globe. And I thank Mallasekara Foundation for being part of this noble work, and I hope you will continue to be with us in coming year as well. Theruvan Saranai.